Hello everybody. Good morning if you are in the west of the world. Good evening if you're in the east of the world like me. Welcome to today's video. Before I get started, it would be really helpful if you could, if you're watching live, put a 1 in the comments for me, please. If you're watching a replay, put a 2 in the comments. The topic of today's video is the question of why is perfect a problem? How can perfect be a problem? But that's what they tell you, right? When you move into online business, when you want to start your own business, when you move into entrepreneurship, people start telling you, don't do things perfectly, just make it good enough. That's fine. Just get on with it, get it out there. Not perfect, don't make things perfect. And that's counterintuitive, particularly for those of us who have perfectionist tendencies like myself. I'm a lifelong perfectionist. I mean, I am a perfectionist. I always will be. And I just have that in my wiring, in my makeup. So I'm very conscious of this. And I'm sure a lot of people out there, you have the same worry when people start telling you, that's a bad thing. That's going to stop you doing well as an entrepreneur. So I want to just address that now in this video. Now the first point is, it's fine. It's fine if you have perfectionist tendencies. You have a lot of other character traits and abilities and strengths and weaknesses too. It's all fine. And being a perfectionist is extremely powerful in certain situations. So if you take an example from real life, hopefully some of you have some location freedom because of your online business lifestyle, hopefully. So you probably get on a plane quite often. And you get on a plane is an extremely technologically complex piece of equipment. So the people that wrote the software that run the plane, the people that built the electronics, you want that to be perfect. You really hope that there were perfectionists doing those jobs. And another example is, if you're unfortunate enough that you have to go to the hospital for an operation, let's say you have an operation here on your arm, you get home, you're not going to say, yeah, there's a bit of blood coming out at the ends because they only put 80% of the stitches in, only 80% of the cut, but it's fine, I understand, they just wanted to get it done, get it out there, get me out of there, it's good enough. No, it's not good enough. You need it to be done perfectly. So we've ascertained we need flight engineers and surgeons to do things perfectly. But what about in online business? Is there any place there to do things perfectly? Yes, there is. Let me give you one example. So if you're going to write a bit of copy, let's say you're going to write an ebook or a pillar post for your blog, or some other kind of, like an important email, you actually want those things to look pretty good. You don't want spelling mistakes. You don't want formatting errors. You want the images to blend properly and fit around the text properly. So you want it to look good. You want it to look pretty perfect when it goes out. So I would say, if you have a bit of a perfectionist trait, a bit of a perfectionist strength, that's one way that you can deploy it to good use. And I see this when I look at people's materials. Some of it just looks a bit rough and unpolished, and some of it looks really professional and good, and I like the professional version, and that's because the person put time into getting it absolutely right. So that's the first thing. Perfectionism has its place and can be used to great value, including in your online business, in your entrepreneurial world. So why do people talk about it being a problem? Well, here's the thing. The day that you started your online business, the day that you moved into the entrepreneurial world, you changed job. Now, people say it's not a job when you're working online, but I'm going to call it a job because you took the CEO job. You are not one of the employees. That's not your main job. You're not the copywriter, and you're not the technologist in your business. You're the CEO. So this is where the problem starts, or has to be managed. So a CEO does a very different job. What they mustn't do is get stuck worrying about whether the third paragraph in next Wednesday's bit of blog post is perfectly formatted. They can't get stuck with those things. The CEO needs to be driving the company forwards, making strategic decisions, big picture decisions, and just keeping the overall direction. That's the CEO role in any company. So they need to have their head a bit clearer from the details so that they can make those bigger picture decisions, uncluttered, if you will. Now, the problem you have is that you probably haven't got for a while at least, you won't have a big enough business that you can go out and hire a copywriter and hire a technology person purely to look after that bit of detail. So you keep having to go from the CEO back down to the copywriter, and the CEO back down to the technology person, and whatever else needs to be done. So you have to flip, but that's the thing. You have to learn how to flip between the CEO role one day or 1 hour and the copywriter another hour. Switch on your perfectionism skills for the copywriting and switch them off, put them to one side for the when you're back to the CEO role. Hi Andrew, thanks for joining. So this is where the conflict starts, and this is where what I've found is, and this is my tip for you, what I've always found both in my time in employment and my time when I've been involved in businesses myself, including my online business, what I've always found is the same thing, that if I have goals and targets that I'm absolutely driven to, I feel hugely obliged to meet that goal, to reach those targets, whether that be a personal goal or whether it be a goal in a company where you're an employee and your boss is going to hound you if you don't meet it, or if it's in your own business. If your goal is really important to you because that's what is needed to achieve your why, and if there's a time frame that you've put on your goal that keeps some tension in that, you are going to be driven to get there, and you're not going to get stuck in the detail. You're going to start saying to yourself, I haven't got time to make this perfect. It's good enough. It's 80% there. Let's just get it out because I need to move on. I've got to get this done. I've got to get to this goal. I've got to think bigger picture. You are going to start talking like that and thinking like that CEO. And then you flip the balance. Now you're the CEO who can occasionally switch on the detail ability when necessary, but is thinking bigger picture and keeping things driving forwards. So that's my advice to you, particularly if you have a tendency for perfectionism. Make sure go away, revisit your goals, make sure your short-term and your long-term goals are really important to you. The time frame is challenging enough to keep some tension in the process, and so that they absolutely matter to you. That will keep you driven to go forwards. It'll make you behave like the CEO that you are, and it'll stop you occasionally getting dragged back into the detail where you shouldn't. Hope that helps. Talk soon. Have a great day.